Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about why 2019 has decided to kick my butt and why we as a family kicked it back. So stay tuned. Hi everyone. Alright, so we're going to start this story off back in October. Hopefully I won't ramble on because I have a tendency to do that. So, in the middle of the night, October 24th, 25th, it was like a Thursday morning, I wake up with a really bad stomach pain, and it's almost like a contraction. Like, it only lasts for a few seconds at a time, but I can't get comfortable, and I'm having problems keeping things in my stomach and like all this kind of stuff. So I power through it for a few hours just trying to find a comfortable position, and finally I wake my husband up. We call a 24-hour nurse line and they suggest we go to the ER. We decided to go to an urgent care facility, and after some tests they think it's two things. They think either one, it's my gallbladder because of the way that I'm getting the pain, or two, it's my IBS. But I've had IBS for years and I've never had anything like this. So although my doctor was out of town, my nurse's staff was able to like get me authorization for like an ultrasound and blood test, all that stuff. So the next day, even though I haven't been able to eat, I haven't been able to sleep, I'm feeling awful, exhausted, and I'm still in pain, I did an ultrasound the next day. And I was by myself, and I never have had an ultrasound before, and so I didn't realize they couldn't tell you anything. But the lady was like asking me very specific questions. So the pain was in my upper abdomen, and she was like, oh, where did you say it hurt? I was like, oh, my upper abdomen. And she's like, okay, this doesn't hurt? And she's like, on my back. And I'm like, no. And she's like, what about here? I'm like, no. What about here? No. And she's like focusing on my right side of my back, and like, I'm like, no. And so I'm starting to think something suspicious is going on. Your gallbladder is somewhere in your intestines and your stomach. So I'm curious what's going on. I'm still not eating, still exhausted, not feeling well at all, still in pain. And so I go home and I decide to have like a nap and a little bit of food before I go get my blood test. And as I'm waiting for the place to get back from their lunch break, which I didn't realize, they weren't going to be there, I get a phone call from my doctor's office, and it's the nurse, and she has like a few questions for me, like, oh, have you got your blood test? Oh, you haven't? Good, because I have some more tests that need to be run, blah, blah. Oh, and by the way, you have a lesion on your kidney. Well, I don't know what a lesion is, and by the time she hangs up the phone, I'm like, I have no idea what just happened. They said nothing's wrong with my gallbladder, nothing's wrong with my stomach, but I have a lesion on my kidney. So I Google what a lesion is. I start talking. At this point, Roy's the only one that knows I don't feel well. I start talking to my sister. And I basically go through like the sketchiest blood test, the worst weekend of my life where I'm just in pain and don't know anything that's going on other than I have a lesion on my kidney. Start slowly telling my family. And by family, I mean just my parents, because I still don't want to tell my baby sister, who is 11 years younger than me, until I found out more information. On that Monday, I feel a lot better, and I am now able to see a urologist, and they don't have an appointment available for 2 weeks. So I kind of push back, and they're like, okay, you can do a walk-in on Wednesday. So Halloween morning, I go to the urologist, and immediately he starts referring to it as a tumor. That kind of sets me off, because I'm like, I thought it was a lesion, you know, so you're calling it a tumor. And he's like, yes, I believe it's a tumor. I'm like, okay. So he draws me a little picture and tells me a little bit more about it. I'm like, okay, great. This is Halloween, October 31st. Over the next 4 weeks, I slowly start telling my friends, my family, my sister, and I am fueled by frustration and anger. I have basically been thrown from company to company, doctor to doctor. I'm just trying to get authorization for a surgery, and then get an appointment for that surgeon, and then get authorization for the surgery itself. And so it's like a part-time job of frustration at the system and at individual people. And like, there were some great people on my path that were just so kind and so helpful, but there were some others that weren't so. So I am looking at a January surgery date, and then eventually I get the January 25th surgery date. So during that 3-month process, I have really no idea what's going on. I thankfully have absolutely no symptoms. I've told my core people, which ends up being like 30 or 40 people, and so I didn't put it on social media or anything. So I used a email group to email everyone updates after each appointment I had. And my little sister was given the chore of naming my tumor. So pretty early on, I was like talking to her, and I'm very much trying to like be humorous about it. And I asked her to name it, and she goes, well, she like thinks about it for a second, and she goes, Felicia. And I'm like, as in, bye Felicia? And she was like, yes. And I was like, done. So I therefore referred it to Felicia and bye Felicia, and this bitch Felicia has to go kind of situation for like the rest of the time. So I emailed everyone and kept them up to date, and then when it came down for the surgery, my parents came, because my parents don't live close, and my mom's just stayed with us for a few weeks, and my dad came for just the weekend of the surgery. So going to the surgery date, my idea of what was going to happen was I was going to have a surgery where they were going to try and take out just the tumor. If they couldn't take out just the tumor, they were going to have to take out my whole kidney, which is fine because you can survive off of one kidney. But at that point, they had also told me that there was another tumor on the other kidney. So even if they dealt with this one, we still thought there could possibly be this whole thing again. I could have to have another surgery and another tumor and all this kind of stuff. So that was weighing on us as well, that we might have to go through this more than once. The day before the surgery, I start all my prep work. I go to the hospital and register, all that kind of stuff, and my parents arrive. They were going to be, my mom was going to be here for 2 weeks, so she brought, you know, plenty of books and stuff, and my dad was just going to be here for the weekend. And him and my husband had an entire weekend of activities planned together. They went golfing and went out to food, and basically their goal was to distract each other. Neither of them does well in hospitals, and neither of them, you know, neither of them I really wanted to be stuck with me. I wanted my mom, you know, and my mom is really good about just hanging. Like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read my book, and you tell me what you need. So that worked out really well. My surgery was 7 a.m. on a Friday morning, and I had to be there at 5 a.m. So I surprisingly slept okay the night before. I get there for the surgery, I get prepped, and I'm taking funny photos on Snapchat. Also, a side note, I decided to use Snapchat as my way to tell people how I was doing at the hospital during recovery, because no one really uses it anymore, at least in my circle. So I was able to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to delete everyone that doesn't know about the surgery. So I used it during the whole follow-up to post silly photos, and I think that really helped, because I was able to spread the word of like how I was doing and stuff without having to text everybody or use the email chain with 40, you know, plus people. So that was super helpful, because I felt like I got a lot of support through that, and I got to share what was going on with a lot of people at once without having to share it with like my entire Instagram following on my personal or my business. When I woke up from the surgery, they told me that they had to take out my whole kidney. At this point, the next step was for them to biopsy the tumor and tell me what it was, and that wasn't going to be for another few weeks. I stayed in the hospital for 2 nights, 3 days. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. My mom was there the whole time. She like read, I think, 2 books, cover to cover. So Roy and my dad would stop in a few times a day, but I just didn't really, I didn't want company. I didn't want to hang out with anybody. I just wanted to be alone, but I wanted to help. So that's when my mom came in, because she could help me when I wanted, but I didn't want to sit there and chat with her. My lung capacity wasn't up to speed. I was in a lot of pain. When I got the catheter out, I was having to go to the bathroom a lot, and that was a lot of effort. It was a rough few days. I've never stayed the night in a hospital before, and I was in a lot of pain. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I was getting lots of texts and snaps and all that kind of stuff, of a lot of support. My mom spent most of the whole time with me, just reading books and helping me out. I didn't really want to talk. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to kind of be myself, but I did need the help, and I really liked having her there because it was very easy. And I liked that I knew that Roy and my dad were having a good time, and no, not just sitting there staring at me. So when I was finally released, I went home, and the first 2 weeks were kind of rough. And then when my mom left after the 2 weeks, I was pretty solid. I was feeling like 85% of my normal self. I still couldn't pick up, you know, over 10 pounds, which means I can't pick up any of our animals, our dog or our 2 cats. I could pick up, you know, like the garbage bag was a little iffy, all that kind of stuff. But I was feeling better. Just a side note, I had 8 incisions, so it was kind of challenging at the beginning. Like when I laughed, it hurt. When I bent down, it hurt. Hi, Bubba. My dog is getting closer because he's adorable. So my mom leaves on a Wednesday, 2 weeks after my surgery, and that's the day we had my follow-up appointment with the surgeon. Or actually, it might have been on Tuesday. But anyways, we go to the follow-up appointment, and he had done the biopsy, and they tell me that it's not cancerous, and it's a relief. You know, my mom and Roy are super ecstatic. I had already told myself and my body that it wasn't cancer. Like, we had already decided as a team that, like, if it was cancer, we would have known, but it was nice to, like, know. But I didn't feel like a rush of relief. Like, it didn't feel real. Like, nothing felt real yet. So, that was huge. And then, you know, 2 days later, we decided to go to our friend's cabin so that the boys can go snowboarding, and I could, you know, relax in the snow with our dog, which, you know, sounded a lot better in theory. Because an hour and a half into snowboarding, my husband fell and broke his collarbone. So we had to do the whole thing over again. We went to the urgent care. He ended up having to go to an orthopedic surgeon. They said he needed surgery. 2 weeks later, he got his surgery, and now he's recovering. He's been in a sling for the 2 weeks prior to the surgery, and we're almost at the 2 weeks after the surgery. I'm still recovering. I'm pretty good. You know, I got through my surgery. My incisions are healing. Going to the doctor today, might have an infection in one of them. Cool. But pretty much, we got our butts kicked in 2019 so far. We've had to have 2 surgeries, a cancer scare. It's been crazy, but we kicked it back. Like, we're fine. You know, our bank accounts are pretty low. We're gonna owe a lot more when we get our bills for the surgeries, but we're just thankful that nothing major is left to do and that we're good. And I've been wanting to vlog for so long because the whole time I was like, I could be vlogging right now. I have so much stuff to share with clients and friends and all that kind of stuff about wedding planning, but if our camera wasn't broken, our video process was broken, our computer was broken. I feel like now we finally have all the things fixed. We're getting fixed. Everything's gonna be great. 2019 is gonna be awesome, but just want to let you guys all know it's super weird not to have a major part of your life that you're not sharing on social media. Like, I can't imagine when I do get pregnant, which is not going to be for a while, that it's really hard to keep quiet. But I like sharing things with you guys. I hope to share stuff with you in the future. If you have any questions about me, I might be able to answer them. If you have any medical corrections, keep them to yourself. I know I probably explained things wrong, but that's okay. Or you can comment below, that's fine too, actually. But like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to hear as far as something borrowed or me is concerned, and I hope you guys all have a good day. Thank you.